Well, I think there are a range of constitutional concerns that the statute raises. One set of concerns are the breadth with which Congress has criminalized so-called material support to designated organizations. They've defined that term so broadly as to include pure speech that advocates only nonviolent, lawful activity and made it a crime by, for example, making it a crime to provide expert advice to an organization or to provide a service to an organization. And the government has conceded that the law is so broad that writing an amicus brief in the Supreme Court on behalf of a designated group would be a crime, that writing an op-ed in the New York Times for the benefit of or in conjunction with one of these groups would be a crime. So they've written the law so broadly that it criminalizes pure speech, the core of what the First Amendment is designed to protect.
Has the government shown any concern about trying to narrow this law?
No, in fact, what we've been doing I've been representing a group called the Humanitarian Law Project in challenging this law for now a dozen years. First under the Clinton administration, then under the Bush administration, now under the Obama administration. And at every point, the government has shown very little interest in narrowing the law, and in fact, quite to the contrary, has argued that the law should be read as broadly as possible. So Solicitor General Kagan, in the Supreme Court argument, said very clearly that writing an amicus brief to the Supreme Court is a crime if it's done on behalf of one of these organizations. You couldn't really read the law much more broadly than that.
And I'll let you go in a second, but what about association? The association here. Are there, problems with someone who wants to donate some money to a humanitarian organization? This may not be speech, but is there associational constitutional concerns?
Yeah, there are serious associational concerns, because what the law does is says the same act providing support, whether it be speech or money for humanitarian activities, is permitted if you do it with respect to a group that's not on the list, say the Northern Alliance or say the PLO, which is not on the list. But it's a crime if you do it in conjunction with or for the benefit of a group that is on the list, say Hamas or say the Kurdistan Workers' Party. The only thing that differentiates is the political identity of the association. These are all groups that use lawful as well as illegal means, yet the government has picked and chosen and said, when you do this with respect to some groups, we'll call it a crime. When you do it with respect to other groups, we'll look the other way, or we'll in fact affirmatively support it. And in addition, there's a further associational concern, which is that the government's power to designate groups, to pick which groups are going to be on the list and therefore proscribed, and which groups are okay, is virtually unchecked. There's virtually no process constraint that allows an organization to challenge it being put on the list, and the criteria for putting groups on the list are so broad that essentially the executive can put almost anybody it wants on the list.
This has been very helpful, and I apologize about this, but if the judiciary, the Supreme Court, does not narrow this law somehow, is there a way, do you have hope that Congress may get involved again at some point?
Well, I think it would. I would hope that Congress would, and I think as examples of the breadth of the law proliferate, as people learn that the government interprets the law to make it a crime to provide an amicus brief to the Supreme Court, that there will be more political pressure to narrow the law. And indeed, President Obama, in his speech in Cairo, said that one of the things he wanted to do was look at ways in which we can allow Muslims to give charity without engendering a risk of being prosecuted. And so I'm hopeful that there would be some political support for making this a more constrained legal regime rather than the open-ended blank check that it is at the present time.